Hey, what up, guys? Welcome to JMac Sports Cards. Back at it again here. We got the scanner set up, and we're going to come here and do a 6-month follow-up on my experiences thus far using this scanner. I know people have asked lots of questions about setup, the settings, the scratch lines, using it with penny sleeves, using it with top loaders. I'm not using it with top loaders. I only use it for vintage cards without penny sleeves. When you scan without penny sleeves, you need the wheel back in, which I'll show here in the video. Most everything that I'm running through this machine is with the penny sleeve with the wheel out. Yeah, it depends on the product, on like how great the scans and images are. The reason with the Prism, the Chromium mirror type products, the reason they don't do as well because it's literally reflecting into itself. They're basically mirrors, so you see every single little tiny flaw of the cards, of the penny sleeves as well. So fresh new penny sleeves that are tight fitting, all of that kind of matters, you know, in the big scheme of things here with using a document scanner like this for sports cards. So that all being said, we'll jump into it and I'll show a few different examples here of what works good, what doesn't, pros, cons, and then also I'll run through the settings again for anyone who may be getting one of these, and links to everything I've got, all the equipment I use personally, and even the Fujitsu. I don't use the Fujitsu, but some people might say, you know what, that thing's not for me. It's too low end. I want to get the Big Daddy. I got a link to that as well, all on Amazon. You can use my affiliate links, and you know, obviously there is a little kickback on my end. So, but you don't pay anymore. It's all just Amazon prices. So I appreciate everyone who has used those. And I appreciate all the comments and interactions that we've had thus far. Let's keep it going, and we'll jump into this, looking at the settings, and looking at some examples, and talking about my experiences with it thus far for the first 6 months. I do want to go back real quick and run through the basics and run through how the settings need to be set up. Really, most settings are going to be here in scan settings. This is where you need to go in, change settings, go to scanning, make sure it's double-sided here. You know, double-sided, auto detect on the document size, resolution, got it set at 300. You could go higher if you wanted to. It does slow the machine down when you get a higher resolution. Big one here is you want to set this detect double feed to turn off. Some people are talking about that it jams up. That's because you probably have this on. This is mostly for paper documents. So when it detects, you try to run a sports card through it with the penny sleeve, it thinks you're double feeding it. So you have to turn that off to allow it to do that. The other one that I think is fairly important as well is on this document size. Go down to settings here, and then crop margins for size auto. You're putting 1/10 of an inch. You could tweak this to whatever you think looks best, but this allows you to see the edges all the way around with the 0.1 of an inch border all the way around it. So I feel that this is pretty important, so that way people can see the entire card image. So that's what that is. If you set it to 0, there won't be any border at all, and a lot of times your corner might be a little bit cut off on the scan. And pretty much, I believe that is all that you really need to worry too much about on the settings. What I'll do real quick is I'll scan a card so it actually will show how it works, because I want to show one more thing that I just was talking with the individual who was having some issues. Let's get it running. There you go. So we scan this Kyle Lewis, you can see, and zoom in on it. But look, if you look around the edges, let me zoom it. You see, it shows the whole penny sleeve with the 0.1 inch border. See how good that looks? Okay. Someone was reaching out on Instagram who, like I said, I'm not tech support, guys. So sometimes if you reach out with if it's like basic computer skills type stuff, I'm probably not going to respond.
I'm an old man.
You know, that's one of those things where you might just need to grab a teenager or somebody who knows something about computers, because
tech support!
If you're just brand new, 100% brand new to eBay and just everything as far as computers go, you're gonna have a real struggle. It's gonna take you a while to get things figured out. Although this setup is pretty simple. Just did want to show. So when you got your scans, we scanned this card. You can see the scans look great on it. Click next. We want to save it. You want to change the file type to JPEG. it defaults to PDF, and this individual who was reaching out was saying, I can't get to my pictures. It doesn't show pictures. That's because they were scanning it as a PDF. So if you know, like I said, this is basic computer knowledge. PDF is a document. It's not an image. So you can't upload PDFs to eBay or Card Dealer Pro, whatever Chronio, whatever platform you're using. It needs to be in JPEG or PNG. I just use JPEG.
I have a JPEG.
So it has to be file type JPEG. Then you save it to a location on your drive, or you got all these other options. I've never used any of the other ones, so I don't ask me. I don't use them, don't need to. I just save them to my desktop, and then bam, they're on my computer. So when I want to, either use Car Dealer Pro or just directly list them myself on eBay, I can do that. So just wanted to point that out, and then you click save, and then this program would close down. But what I want to do is I want to show some different examples of different cards and sort of my learnings over this first 6 months of using this scanner. What does good, what doesn't, what looks the best. Some of the questions you got, we'll talk about some of those kinds of things. All right, so what I want to do here is show 4 different sort of styles of cards to scan. First one's going to be the one that's probably most problematic. It's this silver chromium type of product. Also, I want to just point out that I know in my first video of showing this, I scanned with top loaders. I do not do that. Those are really just too thick. So I don't think I've ever done it outside of that demo video. I did just want to show that you could, I guess, just in a penny sleeve, it's protected. It doesn't get, the cards don't get scratched in the penny sleeve. Sometimes the penny sleeves have slight markings on them. And so these particular ones, I use these BCW because they're tighter fitting. I got links to everything I use in the description. But I took these were in older, you can see how, like, you can't even see me through them. But these BCWs are super clear and super tight. These had the long tail at the top, and you can see they're just not very clear. So that would, if you're scanning with penny sleeves on, your penny sleeve certainly matters. So I took these out of these old penny sleeves, put them in new ones, and now I'll show the results. We'll scan these, and you'll see that sometimes it shows every little tiny flaw because these are basically a mirror. These kinds of cards. So those are the ones that do probably the worst. I'm gonna show these some vintage football, and you notice they're not in a penny sleeve. I'll put the wheel back in on vintage out of a penny sleeve because these are super thin paper stock cards, and I'll run these through without a penny sleeve with the roller back in. That's example number 2. I wanted to show running super paper thin vintage junk wax through as well, something like these, and these got those big penny sleeves on it. So I'm gonna guess that these are gonna double up, and people talk about that all the time. Do you ever have, when you're scanning, does it double feed? Yeah, with this thin stock card, you'll be scanning and then 2 of them will go down together at the same time. That's going to happen likely. And because it's that big lip at the top, these are huge sleeves that are not the BCW, a lot of times these will jam as well because of that lip at the top. All right, and then the final one is going to be what works the absolute optimal best with this scanner. It's something like this. So with a white border, these are Topps Gallery. And these will turn out, these will be so good looking that you think somebody spent lots of money to capture images of these. So we'll fire up the printer, run through all of these 4 scenarios real quick, and see the results of how it works. Like I said, we're going to start with these silvers, and it's going to be up on the screen. I'll drop them in the scanner. These need to be put in backwards and upside down. All right, so I'm going to hit scan, and you'll start seeing the images here on the screen. I will say I did go, and I wipe this down basically every time before I use it. These are all the same card. But you see, because it's a mirror, you see these cards do the worst. And you see sometimes a faint line here. Yeah. So all of you who asked that question, yeah, that's what you sometimes see with these. That's why I put a disclaimer on my listings that some of the images look like they're scratched, but a lot of times it's on the actual penny sleeve because I scan with penny sleeves. I use that as a disclaimer. You can just go to my eBay listings and see my disclaimer. So yeah, these just don't do that well. I personally will still sometimes, bulk list with these. scans and just, you know, hope for the best on them. It's the easiest way to get them uploaded fast is using a document feed scanner like this. If you're anal or you're super OCD about your images and your scans,
I understand you have OCD.
you probably wouldn't want to use this. Probably want to take your own images with the overhead scanner or your phone on a product like this. Okay, so that proves my point that these don't do the best. Next up, we will look at scanning these paper stock cards. I'll set the camera up for this one so you can see it. All right, so we're gonna now scan these, like I said, these junk wax and these big oversized penny sleeves. Fully expecting these to double feed and to possibly jam. Let's see how it goes. There, we got to jam up because of the penny sleeves. So I'll take the ones that I've already scanned out. There, bam, you can see. So as predicted, that's how that works. They all typically jam up. Okay, put them back in. I want to show you the double feed that occurs. Close it back up, run them back. That one came out of the penny sleeve. There you go, that's a double feed. So as you can see, these penny sleeves are not gonna work very well with this super paper thin product. See the double feed, you saw it. What is the way that I would do these? I would scan them one by one like this. Drop them in. Is it tedious? Yes. Annoying? Yes. Does it get the job done and take a lot more pictures faster than you could with your camera? Absolutely yes. See, now they turned out just fine, and we're in business. So with that kind of product, if you want to keep it in the penny sleeve, that's how you would approach it. Otherwise, this type of card you could also run like vintage and run it with the wheel in, not in a penny sleeve. That's the other option with this kind of card. Let's run these vintage cards with the wheel back in with no penny sleeves. All right, putting the wheel back in, simply open that, grab the wheel. There it's back in. Close it, close it. All right, now we're set up. We're gonna run these vintage cards without a penny sleeve. Put them in the same way, but again, there's no penny sleeve on them. Move this back a little bit. With the wheel in, these won't double feed. There you go, boom. And that's what the scans look like. They look great. Front and back. The cards are fine. They're not scratched up. So there you go. That is how we do it with vintage paper stock super paper thin cards. Now, final example is we will run the optimal, the best cards to run through here. A product like this with a lighter border. So let's run that through. All right, so now we're gonna run these optimal cards, lighter border, non-chromium cards. Run these through. First thing is make sure that if you got the wheel in, make sure you go in and take that back out. You don't want to leave that in. If you do, it will wrinkle up your penny sleeves, possibly damage the cards. So we'll throw them back in there now with the wheel out, and then these should scan pretty good. Let's see. We did get a double up there. That does happen still. So let's slide over. I'll show you. You just got to monitor this stuff. This is how it goes. So which one's doubled? So it was the Kyle Lewis. There we go. So we got to load those back in. And then what you do is you click these two, delete them. All right, scan it again. There we go. So now we got those scanned in. That's what that looks like. And I mean, you can see how good these look. I mean, like I said, it looks like you paid somebody to take these pictures, front and back. But again, I had that issue. It did double scan. So all that kind of stuff happens. You just got to monitor. You can't be like watching TV and doing this. Like, I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, but I would imagine maybe the Fujitsu 8170 not having these kinds of issues. Don't know, because I don't have experience using it. But these are some of the things that I work through. But I feel like it does such a great job. You can see, I mean, I'm 13, 15,000 scans in, and my scans still look fabulous. I know someone told me that they noticed a scratch on one of their mirrors, and those are being a lot more noticeable on their cards. That is a risk. That is something that could happen. That could happen with a Fujitsu. There's a mirror inside it that if it gets scratched, then yeah, that's going to show up on your scans. So all in all, I mean, it's done the job. It's done a fantastic job for me and my needs. Now, I feel like I do want to eventually upgrade to a Fujitsu. Again, I said that in the first video on using this product, but I'm not in a rush, right? So, you know, one day I will, but I'm just not going to pay upfront that much cash until it's worth it in the big scheme of things when the store is big enough. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I appreciate all of the comments and all the interaction from everyone. I hope I covered everything. I feel like I covered a lot of it, but again, I could have missed something. So drop a comment question below, and let's keep the conversation going here. And best of luck to you on reselling here on eBay as a sports card seller. That's all I got till next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Deuces.